Pyramid. When someone hears that word, it is likely that an image of the Great Pyramid of Giza comes to mind. This is the classic design that has become ubiquitous in our modern society. However, when it comes to this type of structure, there are many different varieties found around our planet. Technically speaking, pyramids have a unique geometric shape. In geometry, a pyramid is defined as a polyhedron made by connecting a polygonal base, a two-dimensional shape with three or more straight sides, with a point at the top called the apex. The base of a pyramid can be a triangle, a square, a rectangle, or other shapes with even more sides. For the majority of mainstream academics, the collection of all the pyramids around the world is nothing more than evidence of humankind's division into separate cultures. But not all academics agree with this theory. Geophysicist Dr. Robert Schoch believes the world's pyramids are in fact compelling evidence of the underlying unity of civilization. Quote, "At its most extreme, the orthodox viewpoint goes something like this. Civilization dates to no earlier than the middle 4th millennium BCE. It began in Mesopotamia, then spread to Egypt and subsequently throughout the Old World. Other civilizations arose on their own, and much later, in the Americas, where they remained disconnected from Asia and Africa until Columbus piloted his 3 small ships across the Atlantic. The Old World and the New World each invented civilization independently." End quote. Dr. Schoch is widely known for his research concerning the Great Sphinx. He concluded that the weathering patterns of the Giza Plateau indicated that the Sphinx was carved in stages. Schoch posited that the oldest portions went back much further than the conventional 2500 BCE, and argued that the earliest part most likely predates 5000 BCE. The implication of such a conclusion is that civilization arose earlier than generally believed. Schoch, like many other unorthodox scholars, believes much of the early history of humankind has been lost to natural catastrophes. We are certain that many of our viewers are aware that pyramids are not unique to Egypt. But when we look around the world, we do not find just a few of these structures. We find thousands. Beyond Egypt, we find pyramids in the ancient African kingdom of Kush, in ancient Mesopotamia and Samaria, in England and Ireland, in India and throughout Southeast Asia, at Angkor Wat in medieval Cambodia, at Indonesia's Borobudur, in ancient China, in the Valley of Mexico, in the ancient Olmec and Mayan realms of southern Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, Belize, and El Salvador, along the Mississippi at Cahokia, in Peru's coastal region, and in several more places yet to be discovered, no doubt. Schoch has bothered to ask the questions from which most academic scholars cower. Quote, "How can it be that a form as distinctive and powerful as the pyramid was built in such widely separated locales?" Most scholars would answer that the world's many pyramids are the product of coincidence and convergence, peoples of different cultures imitating forms in nature, such as the mountains of Mexico or the sand dunes of Egypt. But is this the final word on the subject? Is it an oversimplification? Or could it be that pyramids around the globe share a common cultural heritage? End quote. The following selections are considered to be some of the most spectacular pyramidal structures around the world. But this is not even close to a comprehensive list, and the archive encourages our viewers to continue researching the thousands of ancient examples of this architecture. The Giza Pyramid complex includes the Great Pyramid of Giza, the Pyramid of Khafre, the Pyramid of Menkaure, and the Great Sphinx of Giza. According to the Orthodox academic timeline, all were built during the 4th dynasty of the Old Kingdom of ancient Egypt. But Like Dr. Schoch, our viewers are likely well aware that these structures are much older than the orthodox academic assessment. The northernmost of the three was the tallest man-made structure in the world until the Eiffel Tower was completed in 1889. Khufu's pyramid is Giza's oldest and sole remnant of the seven wonders of the ancient world. Over 2 million blocks of stone were used to construct the pyramid during a 20-year period concluding around 2560 BCE. The pyramid is 230 meters in length and 139 meters high. Originally, it stood 146.5 meters high. Although the pyramid has been extensively studied, exactly how it was built remains a mystery to mainstream academia and Egyptologists. One of the largest and best preserved ziggurats of Mesopotamia is the Great Ziggurat at Ur. It was built by Ur-Nammu, who reigned from 2112 to 2095 BCE and was the founder of the third dynasty of Ur, the last native Sumerian rulers of Mesopotamia. The 64 by 46 meter rectangular pyramidal structure is oriented to true north and was constructed with 3 levels of terraces standing originally between 21 and 30 meters high. 3 monumental staircases led up to a gate at the first terrace level. Next, a single staircase rose to a second terrace which supported a platform on which a temple and the final and highest terrace stood. The core of the ziggurat is made of mud brick covered with baked bricks laid with bitumen and naturally occurring tire. Each of the baked bricks measured about 11.5 by 11.5 by 2.75 inches and weighed as much as 33 pounds. The lower portion of the ziggurat, which supported the first terrace, would have used some 720,000 baked bricks. The resources needed to build the ziggurat at Ur are staggering. The Bent Pyramid was built by Pharaoh Sneferu in 2600 BCE during the 4th dynasty and was known as the Southern Shining Pyramid. It is constructed in the desert on the west bank of the Nile, 40 kilometers south of Cairo in the city of Djoser. The Bent Pyramid gets its nickname from its unusual bent angle. The initial 54-degree angle changes to 43 degrees halfway up. It most likely occurred because the builders realized the initial angle was too steep and adjusted to avoid collapse. The nearby Red Pyramid, which was built immediately after, has a 43-degree angle throughout. The Bent Pyramid is 182 meters square and its original height was 104.8 meters. It is believed to be the first attempt at creating a pyramid with smooth sides. It was only partially successful, but it was a significant step in pyramid development. Today, it is also the only Egyptian pyramid to retain most of its original limestone casing, providing the best feel for the original appearance of all pyramids. Chogha Zanbil was built around 1250 BCE by King Untashna-Parisha to honor the great god Inshu-Shinnok. But before the ziggurat could be completed, the king died and construction of the complex was abandoned. When the Assyrians attacked Chogha Zanbil 6 centuries later, there were still thousands of bricks stacked at the site. The ziggurat originally measured 100 meters on each side and was about 50 meters in height and consisted of 5 levels and an apex where stood a temple. It now stands 24 meters high, less than half its estimated original height. Its ornate facade was once covered in glazed blue and green terracotta, and its interior was decorated in glass and ivory mosaics. Glazed terracotta statues such as bulls and winged griffins guarded the entrances to the ziggurat. Although the glazed tiles have long been stripped off the facade, the ziggurat, in general, is in an exceedingly good state of preservation. Located in Bolivia, the Pyramid of Akapana is the largest constructed erected by the Tiwanaku culture and is part of the monumental archaeological complex of Tiwanaku. Mainstream archaeologists have literally guessed its construction date to 110 CE, but our viewers know it is much, much older. It is a symmetrical pyramid 194 meters long by 182 meters wide and 18 meters high. Each of the 7 levels is constructed with beautifully cut and precisely joined blocks that were faced with panels once covered with metal plaques, carvings, and paintings. In the center of the Akapana's flat summit is a small, sunken courtyard laid out in the form of a square superimposed over a perfect cross. This courtyard is also oriented to the cardinal directions. Recent excavations of this courtyard, the interior of the pyramid, and the grounds beneath it have revealed an unexpected, sophisticated, and monumental system of interlinked surface and subterranean channels. These channels brought water collected upon the summit down and through the 7 levels where it exited below ground level, merged into a major subterranean drain system underneath the civic or ceremonial core of Tiwanaku, and ultimately flowed into Lake Titicaca. El Castillo is the nickname of one of the most spectacular Mayan temples that dominates the archaeological site of Chichén Itzá in the Yucatan state of present-day Mexico. Built by the pre-Columbian Maya civilization sometime between the 8th and 12th centuries CE, the pyramid served as a temple to the deity Kukulkan. It is approximately 30 meters high and the base is 55.3 meters square. The design of the step pyramid has special astronomical significance. Each face of the pyramid has a stairway with 91 steps, which together with the shared step at the top add up to 365, the number of days in a year. There are 52 rectangular panels on each side of the pyramid. This corresponds to the convergence year of the Maya solar calendar and the ritual calendar, which happens once every 52 years. Some archaeologists believe that the Mayans built or rebuilt monuments every 52 years. Djoser's step pyramid in Saqqara is one of Egypt's most iconic monuments. According to mainstream scholars, it is not only the very first pyramid that the ancient Egyptians ever built, but also the oldest known ancient Egyptian stone structure. It was built in the early 3rd dynasty during the reign of King Djoser from 2667 to 2648 BCE. Before his reign, royal and elite Egyptians were buried in mastabas. This word, meaning bench in Arabic, refers to a type of funerary structure that was generally rectangular in shape and built over the tomb proper, which was underground. The step pyramid is composed of 6 stacked mastabas, thus creating the stepped effect. Imhotep, its architect, may very well have been responsible for this major innovation. At one end of the pyramid complex, a structure known as the South Tomb is believed to have acted as an additional symbolic tomb for Djoser, perhaps reflecting his role as the dual king of both Upper and Lower Egypt. This famous Buddhist temple, dating from the 8th and 9th centuries, is located in central Java. It was built in 3 tiers, a pyramidal base with 5 concentric square terraces, the trunk of a cone with 3 circular platforms, and at the top, a monumental stupa. Around the circular platforms are 72 open-work stupas, each containing a statue of the Buddha. The entire site contains 504 statues of the Buddha. 1,460 stone reliefs on the walls and opposite balustrades decorate the first 4 galleries, with an additional 1,212 decorative reliefs augmenting the path. The relief sculptures narrate the Buddha's teachings, depict various events related to his past lives, and illustrate didactic stories taken from important Buddhist scriptures. The temple fell into disuse roughly 100 years after its completion when, for still unknown reasons, the rulers of Java relocated the governing center to another part of the island. The British Lieutenant Governor on Java, Sir Thomas Stamford Raffles, only rediscovered the site in 1814 upon hearing reports from islanders of an incredible sanctuary deep within the island's interior. The ancient Mayan ruins of Tikal are what is left of what was once one of the most powerful city-states in the Americas. Construction at Tikal began as early as 400 BCE, when the site was a minor settlement in a loosely affiliated pre-classical Mayan civilization. By 750 CE, Tikal was the capital of a prominent kingdom that spread over the Yucatan Peninsula, lowland Guatemala, and western Honduras. The city was home to 60,000 people. During its heyday, Tikal was the political, cultural, religious, and military center of the Mayan civilization and was ruled by kings who passed the throne to their heirs. The large pyramids are actually temples that were erected to honor kings when they died. The pyramid, known as Temple 4, is 70 meters high and is the tallest standing pre-Columbian structure in the Americas. The ruins also feature extensive stelae or carved stone monoliths that depict scenes from Mayan history and religion and contain hieroglyphics that mark dates and provide names for deities and rulers. Although it is less famous than the grouping of pyramids at Giza in Egypt, the complex at Meroe in Sudan is remarkable. More than 200 pyramids, primarily dating from 300 BCE to 350 CE, mark the tombs of royalty of the Kingdom of Kush, which ruled Nubia for centuries. The Nubian Pyramids were said to have been built by the rulers of these ancient Kushite kingdoms, known as the Black Pharaohs. The 5 Kushite pharaohs ruled Egypt from Nubia to the Mediterranean Sea from around the mid-8th century BCE. The Nubian pyramids differ from their Egyptian counterparts. They are smaller, 6 to 27 meters on the side compared with the Great Pyramid's 230 meters, with much steeper sides, and most were built 2,000 years after those at Giza. Although they are recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, they remain relatively unknown. In fact, Sudan has more ancient pyramids than Egypt. There are around 2,000 Kushite pyramids in Upper Sudan, compared with 200 Egyptian pyramids. After Egypt was conquered by the Romans in 30 BCE, they were inspired to construct a large number of copies of Egyptian structures. Among the original constructions were 2 pyramids, of which this is the only example to have survived. The other, the Pyramid of Romulus, was destroyed around 1500 as its marble was used in the fabric of St. Peter's Basilica. It is estimated that the pyramid was built between 18 and 12 BCE. Measuring 29.6 meters square at the base, the monumental resting place rose 37 meters high. The sharp point at the top of the tomb resembled the pyramids of Nubia from the Kingdom of Meroe attacked by Rome in 23 BCE. The site has changed enormously. In Roman times, it stood far away from the city center, whereas it is now in a very busy part of Rome. In its original form, there were several interior frescoes showing scenes from life, but little of this art now remains. The main pyramid's survival was ensured when it was incorporated into the Aurelian walls of Rome in the second half of the 3rd century CE. The Prang Temple at Kokor is a 10th century temple complex and former capital of the Khmer Empire situated in northern Cambodia. Among the temples built at Kokor, none are as grand as Prasat Tham. Its Prang, or temple tower, is the highest ever constructed by the Khmer, rising 36 meters above the forest floor. In contrast to the temple mountains built at the older capitals of Rulius or Angkor, the pyramid of Prasat Tham is not a stylized representation of the Mount Meru of Hindu-Buddhist cosmology. Instead, it is merely the base for the 4-meter-tall Shiva Linga that was enshrined at its peak. Located at the northern foot of Lisan Mountain in China is the tomb of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, founder of the first unified empire in Chinese history during the 3rd century BCE. Begun in 246 BCE, the grave mound survives to a height of 51.3 meters within a rectangular, double-walled enclosure oriented north to south. Nearly 200 accompanying pits containing thousands of life-size terracotta soldiers, terracotta horses, and bronze chariots and weapons, together with burial tombs and architectural remains, total over 600 sites within the property area of 56.25 square kilometers. As the tomb of the first emperor who unified the country, it is the largest in Chinese history, with a unique standard and layout and a large number of exquisite funeral objects. It testifies to the founding of the first unified empire, the Qin dynasty, which during the 3rd century BCE wielded unprecedented political, military, and economic power and advanced the social, cultural, and artistic level of the empire. Cholkhandi Stupa is a monument that stands on a terraced rectangular plinth consisting of brickwork and topped by an octagonal Mughal tower with the lower circular funeral mound encircled by large stones. The stupa is an ancient Buddhist site which evolved from burial mounds and served as a shrine for a relic of Buddha. It is widely believed it was originally constructed during the Gupta period, which was between the 4th and 6th centuries CE, to mark the site where Lord Buddha was reunited with his 5 companions who had previously deserted him at Rajgir. The temple was subsequently altered by building an octagonal tower. Recently, the Archaeological Survey of India has started restoration work on the temple that has for ages been in a depleted condition. Monte di Acati is an ancient prehistoric complex located on a hill in Sardinia. Studies of the monument have described it as a prehistoric altar, a viewing platform, a step pyramid, or even an ancient architectural ziggurat. The site consists of 2 primary phases, with the earliest period of construction dating from around 4000 to 3650 BCE and is generally associated with the Ots Eri, which was a prehistoric pre-Neurgic hunter-gatherer culture. The first phase culminated in a raised platform to a height of around 5.5 meters, which was accessible by a ramp. The monument was abandoned and possibly destroyed around 3000 BCE, with a hiatus of around 200 years before the second phase of construction. This phase involved the earlier structure being enlarged with a covering of earth and stone and a second-tiered platform that gave the shape of a truncated step pyramid up to 10 meters in height. The summit was accessible by a larger ramp measuring 42 meters in length constructed over the previous ramp. Unlike many other great Mesoamerican temples, which were completed in stages, the Pyramid of the Niches in El Tajín, Mexico seems to have been built all at once. Archaeologists speculate that the temple was built sometime between 1100 and 1150 CE, when El Tajín was at the height of its power. It is made of a locally available sandstone. Once completed, the temple itself was painted red, and the niches were painted black to dramatize the contrast. The Pyramid of the Niches has a square base, 36 meters on each side. It features 6 tiers, each of which is 3 meters high. Total height of the Pyramid of the Niches in its present state is 18 meters. Each level features evenly spaced niches. There are 365 of them in total. On one side of the temple is a great stairway which leads to the top. Along this stairway are 5 platform altars, each of which has 3 small niches in it. The structure at the top of the temple, now lost, featured several intricate relief carvings depicting high-ranking members of the community, such as priests, governors, and ball players. Brihadeeswarar Temple is a Hindu temple dedicated to Shiva located in Tamil Nadu, India. It is one of the largest temples in India and is an example of Dravidian architecture during the Chola period. Built by Emperor Raja Chola I and completed in 1010 CE, the temple is now over 1,000 years old. It stands amidst fortified walls that were probably added in the 16th century. The Vinmanam, or temple tower, is 66 meters high and is the tallest in the world. The kumbam, which is the apex or the bulbous structure on the top, is carved out of a single rock and weighs around 80 tons. There is a large statue of Nandi, a sacred bull, carved out of a single rock measuring around 4.9 meters long and 4 meters high at the entrance. The entire temple structure is made out of granite, the nearest sources of which are about 60 kilometers to the west of the temple. The temple is part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site known as the Great Living Chola Temples. It is one of the most visited tourist attractions in Tamil Nadu. Even though the Pugung Raharjo Pyramid was constructed circa 2500 BCE, it was only rediscovered in 1957. The strange Indonesian pyramid is located in East Lampung, South Sumatra. The Terrace Pyramid Temple is counted among the 5 known terrace pyramids in Indonesia, all of which are Hindu sites built during Hindu-Buddhist era. The archaeological site covers roughly 30 hectares. Aside from the pyramid monument, there are also a variety of megalithic structures, including menhirs and dolmen. Not much is known about this site, except that it dates to the megalithic era. Built around 500 CE, the Huaca Pucllana is a great adobe and clay pyramid located in the Miraflores district of central Lima, Peru, and is built from 7 staggered platforms. It served as an important ceremonial and administrative center for the advancement of the Lima culture, a society which developed in the Peruvian central coast between the years of 200 CE and 700 CE. Today, the principal pyramid stands about 25 meters tall and is surrounded by ramps, patios, and a lower main plaza. But archaeologists believe that Huaca Pucllana used to be much larger. Unfortunately, during the last century, modern residents have built over parts of these ancient Lima ruins. The tomb of the general is the burial tomb of King Djoser, the 20th monarch of the Goguryeo, the northernmost of the 3 kingdoms of Korea. King Djoser became king at the age of 19 in 413 CE and reigned over Goguryeo until his death in 491 CE. During his reign, Goguryeo was at its golden age, stretching from Mongolia to Cheongju. Known as the Pyramid of the East, his tomb measures 31 meters on each side and stands 13 meters high. The Step Pyramid is located in Jian, China, a former capital of Goguryeo. Calakmul flourished between 500 BCE and 900 CE, reaching over 50,000 inhabitants and 7,000 structures. Its major monument, the Pyramid Temple Structure 2, is one of the most massive structures built in the Maya world. The base measures 120 meters square and it stands over 45 meters high. The core of the building, named Structure 2A, is a triadic pyramid dating to the late pre-classic period. An extension was added to the front of the pyramid in the early classic period, which covered an earlier building on the north side and made up a series of shrines. Structure 2B was the central shrine, 2C was the east shrine, and 2D the west shrine. The facade was decorated with 6 large masks set between the stairways, 3 arranged vertically on each side. Located near the village of Burjo at an elevation of 910 meters, the Candi Sukuh temple is stylistically unlike any other in Indonesia. Constructed in 1437 CE, Candi Sukuh seems to have little to do with other Javanese Hindu and Buddhist temples. Constructed with volcanic andesitic rocks and covering an area of approximately 11,000 square meters, the temple complex features 3 terraces, a remarkable pyramid, and numerous enigmatic structures. The origins of its builders and their strange sculptural style remain a mystery, and it seems to mark a reappearance of the pre-Hindu animism that existed 1,500 years earlier. 2 things in particular distinguish Candi Sukuh, which are its unique truncated trapezoidal pyramid, resembling those of the Maya in Yucatan, Mexico, and the numerous mysterious sculptures found throughout the site. The Great Pyramid of Cholula, located in Mexico, is an archaeological site and temple complex believed to be dedicated to the god Quetzalcoatl. It is the largest pyramid by volume in the Americas, in addition to being the largest known pyramid by volume in the world, measuring at its base 450 by 450 meters, in comparison to the Great Pyramid of Egypt measuring 230 by 230 meters, or the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan that measures 220 by 230 meters. The first phase was built around 200 BCE, named La Conajeria, and was constructed with an adobe core measuring around 10 meters square at the base. The next main phase saw the construction of the Pyramid of the Painted Skulls between 200 and 350 CE, and consisted of 7-step levels that led to a rectangular platform topped with a 2-story structure and the altar of the sculpted skulls. The last major period of phases was the Pyramid of the 9 Stories, a radical pyramid with stairways consisting of 9 stories and a jaguar altar. At its peak, Cholula had the second largest population in Mexico of an estimated 100,000 people living in the city complex that encircled the pyramid. Though the pre-Hispanic city of Cholula remained inhabited, residents abandoned the Great Pyramid in the 8th or 9th century CE. Located in Collinsville, Illinois, Monk's Mound is the largest pre-Columbian earthwork in the Americas and the largest pyramid north of Mesoamerica. The beginning of its construction dates from 900 to 955 CE. The structure's size is about 30 meters high, 291 meters long, including the access ramp at the southern end, and 236 meters wide. This makes Monk's Mound roughly the same size at its base as the Great Pyramid of Giza. The perimeter of its base is larger than the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan. The original concept seems to have been a much smaller mound, now buried deep within the northern end of the present structure. At the northern end of the summit plateau, which was finally completed around 1100 CE, is an area raised slightly higher still, on which was placed a building over 30 meters long, the largest in the entire Cahokia Mound's urban zone. Even with an approximate construction date of 9000 BCE, and possibly being one of the oldest pyramids on the planet, Lebak-Sibdug Pyramid remains far off the grid. The ancient Indonesian pyramid is located in Banten province, roughly 70 kilometers from the capital city of Jakarta. As with many archaeological sites in Indonesia, not much is known about this ancient structure. In fact, it is almost completely unknown, even amongst locals. The Lebak-Sibdug Pyramid was first made mention of by Dr. van der Hoop in his book Megalithic Remains in South Sumatra. Several other megalithic ruins are also found at this site. Standing more than 200 feet tall, the Pyramid of the Sun, located in central Mexico about 30 miles northeast of Mexico City, is one of the largest such structures in the world. The building, roughly 1,800 years old, likely contains about 1 million cubic yards of volcanic stone and other materials. It was the grand monument of Teotihuacan, one of the largest cities in the world in its heyday from the 2nd to the 6th centuries. The Pyramid of the Sun enjoyed several centuries of prominence in Teotihuacan, and likely throughout the greater region. Sometime between 550 and 600 CE, around the time the whole city began to show signs of decline, the pyramid was burned in a ritualistic termination. But the symbolic importance of the pyramid itself lived on far longer than the civilization at Teotihuacan. The Aztec ruler Montezuma claimed to have visited the area every 20 days, and the Aztecs built their own altars at the foot of the pyramid. More than a millennium after the pyramid was ritually destroyed, Porfirio Diaz ordered the Pyramid of the Sun refurbished for his 1910 inauguration, one of the first Mexican archaeological sites to be rebuilt.